afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, 14th of September, and because I've got a t-shirt on, it might look as though my microphone's nipple clamped, but trust me, it's not, because I am not that way inclined. But thinking about it, actually, if you do see somebody on TV with two little microphones that appear to be clamped there, you know what he or she is into. Anyway, I digress slightly. So carrying on with our blends, and the first one we're going to have is a donation from Andrew A.P. Butler, who, if you've watched a lot of my videos, you'll be sick of seeing his face because he donated so many to the cause. And it was this kind of odd looking sample bottle that he sent, which is Pig's Nose. So Pig's Nose is from the same company as Sheep Dip. Way back earlier this year, Dram number 3 of 366 was Sheep Dip, which is a blended malt. So if you want a bit of history about that particular one, get yourself all the way back there and go and check that one out. But as a brief overview of the company behind, or the history of Sheep Dip and Pig's Nose. Sheep Dip was created in 1974 by a farmer called M.J. Dowdeswell in Gloucestershire, who was a farmer that also owned a pub and produced this whisky for his customers. And in 1977, Pig's Nose was launched as a sort of secondary release because Sheep Dip was proving so popular. So Sheep Dip was so called because the legend has it that it was essentially like a tax avoidance thing, in that you could have barrels of the stuff, but because it was sheep dip, which is used to sort of clean and delouse sheep, you literally dip whole sheep in them and it cleans them. Because there was these barrels of the stuff and it was tax exempt, you could basically kind of hide whiskey and not have to pay tax on that as well. Pig's Nose, on the other hand, is not a blended malt as Sheep Dip was. It's actually a blended whiskey, so it's got grain whiskey in it as well, and it is so called because apparently it tastes as soft as a pig's nose. Now, I didn't know pig's noses were very soft, but apparently they are, and also very sensitive as well, because they're good for snuffling out truffles. But they are very, very soft parts of the animal, and that was why the nose was given. So Sheep Dip, Pig's Nose, kind of jokey names, but there is a little bit of reasoning behind it. So the brands eventually became, I think it was Invergordon Distillers, who was then purchased by White Mackay, and there was a guy called Alex Nichol, who was the Chief Operating Officer, who left White Mackay in 2005 to set up his own business. And as part of his severance package, he actually took Sheep Dip and Pig's Nose brand names, the brands themselves, with him as part of his kind of, goodwill gesture type thing. So he set up Spencerfield Spirits, and the base of this company is actually in a place called Inverkeithing in Fife, not too far away from Edinburgh. Now, it's had quite a high malt content. It's about 40% malt, 60% grain, which is not too bad for a blended whiskey, but very, very timely, almost not quite an exclusive, but incredibly good timing for me to be able to tell you that yesterday it was announced that Ian MacLeod Distillers, who are known for their Isle of Skye blend, and they also own the Glengoyne and Tamdhu distilleries, announced that they have purchased Spencerfield Spirits for an undisclosed sum. So it sounds like Alex, and I think it's his wife Jane, who ran Spencerfield Spirits, are going to be continuing to operate for a short period of time to maintain a smooth handover before moving on. So whether it's retirement, whether it's payoff, I don't know. But yes, Ian MacLeod, as of yesterday, officially are now the owners of Pig's Nose. This is what the bottle currently looks like. By the sounds of it, I read a bit of a press release, and it's Spencerfield Spirits also produce a gin called Edinburgh Gin, which is extremely popular. I think that was about 2011, and then they've got another Scotch called the Feathery Scotch, which was 2014. And it sounds like Ian MacLeod Distillers have bought it mainly for the gin, because there was a couple of quotes from Ian, the company, basically saying that the Scotches are a bit quirky and we don't really know what we can do with them, but we know there's the market for the gin. Now, apparently Sheep Dip and Pig's Nose are quite popular in America, and they're going to look at that, but Pig's Nose looks like this. I'll put it up again, but it's entirely possible that in the next couple of years it may well change. It may well change recipe. Who knows? It may not even be around anymore. You're looking at about 23 quid a bottle. Master of Malt and the Whisky Exchange is selling this for 23 and pence. So if you do like it, if you have got it, or you fancy trying it out, it might be worth just grabbing it if you see it, because there's a very good chance that it might either disappear or it might become very, very hard to get hold of, particularly in the UK, because they're going to concentrate in the US, or they're going to change the blend of it and it's not going to be as good, or just become a bit of a collector's item. So there you go, little tip for the future. Sheep dip and pig's nose might be worth just picking up a bottle. They're only like 20 quid, 25 quid each, and just stick one aside if you fancy a little investment. So I'm going to guess this has got colouring in it, but it's quite a rich colour. Not quite amber, but not too far off. It's slightly too yellowy for amber colour, but it's very, very close too. Now there's an unusual spiritiness on this, and is it 40%? Yeah, it's just 40%, but it feels its nose is a little bit sharper than that. There's a little bit of a winey element to it. There's also a little farmyardiness, which, kind of considering the history behind it and the name of it, sort of suits it. I can't quite decide whether it has got a smokiness or not, or whether that winey character, that sort of dry white wine character, is slightly overpowering what should be a very soft smokiness. It's a slightly unusual character to it. It's not quite to my liking. It's slightly sharp, and it's a bit, I don't think it's colouring. I don't think it's a plasticiness that I associate with the use of colouring. It's something else. It might be the grain, but it's not quite metallic enough for graininess. There's just a slight note here that's just ever so slightly off, and I can't quite place what it is. Okay. It's strange, actually. What's on the nose, that odd sharpness, is actually there on the palate. Everything that's on the nose is actually there in the palate. It's not too bad mouthfeel. It's quite rich. But there is, whatever was cutting through on the nose that I couldn't quite place. It wasn't quite plastic, it wasn't quite metallic, it wasn't quite oak, like raw oak. It's kind of somewhere in between that, and it's there on the palate as well, and it's just not quite working for me. It's got a nice mouthfeel to it, and there's quite a nice malty character to it as well, to be perfectly honest. It's just, there's this through line of a very odd note that is just putting me off. And I've got a feeling that other people would drink this and either not pick that up or be able to go, oh, it tastes like that, and I quite like that. It's just not, if you took that note out, if you took this line of whatever that particular flavour is out of the whole package, it would be a very smooth, very easy drinking, very pleasant blended whiskey. Is it almost like an aniseedy character? It's close to aniseed. It's not quite, but it's close to like an aniseedy, slightly off. It's just not quite working for me. It's nearly aniseed, but it's not, but it's going in that direction. And it's just turning the palate just the wrong side of pleasant for me. If it didn't have that, it would actually be quite a rich, very smooth blended whiskey. And I've got a feeling that somebody else could easily try this and not pick that up and just go, oh, actually, it's a very nice malty blended whiskey. But yeah. Fortunately, it's just got this sharp note, and it's not clicking with me. It's quite frustrating because everything else that surrounds it is actually quite pleasant, quite nice. But I can't get past this not quite aniseed, not quite plastic type flavour that's there, and it's just turning my head. So yes, try and give Pig's Nose a go. I'd be interested to see what other people would think. It's kind of turning a bit blackcurranty now, and it's getting a bit more pleasant, but it's, yeah, there's something there that I just cannot quite pick up, and it just doesn't gel with me whatsoever. But I can imagine it probably would gel with other blended whiskey drinkers quite happily. So yeah, if you're looking for a sort of little investment, you know, I'm not going to say you're going to retire on it, but it might be worth sticking one aside. And the sheep dip was good, but I enjoyed the sheep dip as well. It might be worth sticking a couple of bottles aside and just seeing what happens, because it'd be very interesting to see what happens over the next few years with the new owners. Right, quick rinse out, and then I shall do something rather fancy. So I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.